Hello, friends. This is Dr. John WorldPeace JD coming to you from Albuquerque, New Mexico. 8:20 p.m. Mountain Time, and we're going to talk about commentary World Peace Teaching Peace 10,008. Trump and his Republicans hate the radical left, who are the followers of Jesus Christ, who says to love one another. That's the topic. Again, get the commercial out of the way. Right below the screen here is the contribution details and a link to that, and a link to World Peace Teaching Peace. Now, that's not my main site. The main site is the flagship site is johnworldpeace.com. That's got 15,000 pages on it. But I have decided to put all of these commentaries in World Peace Teaching Peace and then point over to them from the Christian site, the World Peace site, and so on and so forth. And so this is really a political Christian commentary here, so I'm going to try to designate these in the list, which will let you go down the list and see whatever area you're looking to read about. You'll be able to pick out which of the videos are on those topics. I'm reading more and more, but that's okay. I want to be clear on what I'm saying. I also want to kind of not edit, but I want to make sure that by reading it before I read it on the video that it's going where I want it to go and not getting off track. So anyway, Trump and the Christians. In a political democracy, human beings take over the government of their countries and push God to the side unless they verbally ask guidance. But this is no longer possible because when the Jews crucified Jesus, God abandoned the Jews and quit appointing prophets to designate kings. So that doesn't happen anymore. So how do we get a king? Through democracy, we elect them. So whatever takes place in a democratic nation is owned 100% by its citizens. And the acts of democracy are not owned by God. If we're saying, God, step aside, which we are, we can handle this and we will elect who we want to elect. And we'll take ownership of that and not you. In the past, if God appointed a prophet to designate a king, and that king turned out to be rotten, well, God owned that. So religions have no authority in American democracy. Democracy is a secular form of government, meaning not sectarian, not religious. We don't live under an Iran type of government where the religious law is what is governing the society. Democracy is a secular form of government in the United States. There is a specific separation of church and state. In other words, the church can influence politics like anybody else that wants to influence a politician, but they're not sitting at the table making the laws. Now, this means that the election of Donald Trump is owned 100% by Americans and not by God. When religions say God appointed Trump, Christians say that, and that is how Trump got elected, they're confused. American democracy is government by the people, and the majority rules. to say that God designated voters to elect Trump is a stupid concept. God's out of the mix. We've taken over with our democracy, and we own it. If Trump won, which he did, then we own Trump and all his bad negative acts. God is not involved in the election of presidents in American democracy. Citizens of democracy deny God that authority. Donald Trump has broken and continues to break the 10 Commandments. In fact, he's broken 9 out of the 10. We don't know whether he honored his father and mother or not. But going down the list here, thou shalt not make any gods before me. Trump's God is money. Nobody can question that. Thou shalt not make any graven images. You got the Trump brand in gold. That's his idol. That's his worshiping of himself in a way, but it's still Trump in the big gold letters is his focus on money, not God, not religion or his spirituality. Thou shalt not take the name of God in vain. Many people have witnessed that Trump curses a lot. Remember the Sabbath. Trump never goes to church. Gives no consideration to the Sabbath per the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not kill. Well, Trump's legislation and acts of taking people off Obamacare and they die, well, guess what? He owns it. And because he owns it, we own it. So, yes, he's killed people. They can go out in the street with a gun and shoot people like he claims he can do. He just cut off their benefits and they died for lack of money. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Women have come forward and said, Trump was with them during his marriages, so to his wife. So thou shalt not steal. More and more is coming out every day about the corruption with Trump and the Trump organization. And remember back to the Trump University where the courts made him pay all the money back. That was a total scam. Thou shalt not covet. Trump covets everything that anybody has is bigger or better than his. He covets it. Thou shalt not lie. Nothing comes out of Trump's mouth that's not a lie. Period. So there's the 9 Commandments, and basically he's an abomination to the Lord and Jesus both. He's a pretty rotten fellow. Can't deny that he breaks these commandments. However, put that aside for a minute. There's a bigger problem. Trump is guilty of cursing Jesus. Now, just listen to this for a minute. A liberal, in the dictionary, supports policies that are socially progressive and promote social welfare. Democrats are liberal because they want to bring up the bottom end of society with money that's going to come from the top end of society. They're going to do an equalization, and that's exactly as it should be. The people that are at the top of the pyramid, wealthy-wise, have made their money off the people on the bottom of the pyramid. Not realistic to have the people at the top at least provide a certain standard of living for the people at the bottom. The ultimate liberal is Jesus Christ. Proof of that is his core message, love one another. Love one another. That's the ultimate liberal message. Don't judge. Be a good Samaritan. Forgive. That's a liberal agenda. And that's Jesus' agenda. Therefore, Trump and the Republicans hate Jesus. Why? Because all they talk about is the radical left. And the radical left is screwing everything up. And the radical left is a problem, and they're crazy. The radical left is Jesus Christ. Christians go to church on Sunday morning praising Jesus and are baptized in the name of Jesus and claim to be saved by Jesus because they believe in his message and support it, love one another. Yes, these Christians outside these Christians outside of the church, when they're not sitting in the pews or in Sunday school, they promote Donald Trump's message of hating liberals and the radical left. And they therefore join Trump in his hatred for Jesus and the liberal message. Now, you can't deny that. You can't deny that people go to church and praise Jesus and claim to be trying to love one another. And you can't deny that Trump has nothing but hateful words and cursing of the radical left. Trump curses Jesus. Trump curses those who follow Jesus. If you're a liberal, Trump is against you. Jesus is a liberal. Trump is against Jesus. It's not that hard, and you cannot deny it. You cannot get around it. Every day that he's on any kind of media, he's talking about the radical left and basically what scumbags they are. Jesus said, a house divided cannot stand. You either believe in Jesus and support his liberal message, or you believe in Trump and support his anti-liberal, anti-Christ message. You can't mix oil and water. You cannot mix the teachings and the life of Jesus with the life and the attitude of Donald Trump. It's not possible to be a Christian and a Republican. All Republicans at this point in time support Trump. They back him no matter what he does. And what he does is contrary to the radical left and contrary to Jesus. All Republicans support Trump. Trump is an antichrist and therefore an abomination to God and Jesus. Any preacher that supports Trump and encourages his congregation to support and vote for Trump and his Republicans is a false preacher, an abomination to God and Jesus. There's no way for any Christian under any circumstance to support Donald Trump and claim to be saved. That's not possible. Trump hates Jesus. Trump hates the radical left. Trump hates Christians. He is not so stupid to say out loud that he condemns the radical left liberals and directly curse Jesus, but by going at the radical liberals, he's coming in the back door and hitting Jesus in the back of the head. There's no way you can get around this, and to follow any false preacher who supports Trump and Republicans is following that preacher to hell. Let those who have eyes see and those that have ears hear. Corporate Christianity is dead. The time has come to reject the message of corporate preachers. True Christians shun preachers of any stripe. True Christians are Christians who believe Hebrews 8, 10-12 in the New Testament and Jeremiah 31-33 in the Old Testament, which witness and says in both places that God has put his laws into every human being's heart and mind, and all you have to do is pray, meditate, study, what is in your heart to be a true spiritual Christian and know God and Jesus. Nobody needs to teach anybody. That's what Hebrews and Jeremiah say. These verses say you have no need to follow any preacher, and that means you have no reason to support any corporate Christian church. A corporate Christian church is an organization organized and sanctioned, enabled by the government. Corporate churches are ones that do not pay taxes on their property by the authority of the government. I'm Dr. John WorldPeace, J.D. I'm the only advocate of Jesus Christ, per the Gospel of John, verses 14:26, 15:26, 16:13. I've come to remind you what Jesus said and expose the lies of corporate Christianity and its false preachers. That's all I'm doing. Trump hates the radical left. Jesus is the radical left. He is the leader of the radical left movement. If you're saved, then you support the radical left agenda of Jesus. There's no way around that, folks. Jesus is the radical left that Trump hates and curses all the time. And why does he do it? Because his buddies are rich. And they don't want to pay taxes, and they don't want to support the poor. That's why he hates the radical left. And there's another sub-reason, which is generally they're not white. That is in the mix. The radical racism of Trump. But I want to stay in this commentary just on what's in the Bible. Jesus said, love one another, help the poor, feed the poor, tend to the sick, visit those that are in prison, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Don't judge. That's an extremely liberal message. And Trump's message is nothing but about money, power, and racism. Every time you hear Donald Trump say something negative, which is all he ever does, about the radical left, then you need to hear from Trump, I hate Jesus. Because that's what he's saying. And when you put those two together, you cannot vote for, support Donald Trump or the Republicans. And in this coming election in 10 months, you can't pull the switch for any Republicans. You pull a switch for a Republican, you're pulling a switch for the Republican and against Jesus. And if you do that, you are not saved. Period. That's what my job in this life is to take this stuff that these false preachers have put out in the last 100 years, especially about the book of Revelation, and open your eyes to the truth. You don't hear the truth. The evangelical and fundamentalist Christians support Donald Trump. And that is a false belief that's going to carry you down into hell because you will not be saved. This is Dr. John WorldPeace, JD, the only advocate for Jesus Christ. There's much, 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 much more to talk about. It's January 11th. Have a good evening.